Okay, we're on Pesachim, Perek Zayin, Mishnah Zayin, 7th Mishnah in the 7th chapter of Pesachim. We're going to continue talking about Tumah with regard to the Korban Pesach. Says the Mishnah, HaPesach shenizrak damo, the Kohanim spilled the blood of the Korban Pesach on the Mizbeach, ve'achakach noda shu tamei. And afterwards we found out that the Korban Pesach was Tamei. And the Bartanura says the Pesach or the Dam. Remember we said that if the Korban, it becomes Tamei, then you can't, you're not supposed to spill the blood, not supposed to do the Zrika, because the whole point is for eating it. And if you can't eat it, then you're not allowed to bring it. But the Mishnah says when the Kohanim spilled the blood, they didn't know that it had become Tamei when they spilled it. Hatzitz miratzeh. The tzitz miratzeh, liratzot means to appease. Idea it means to make it okay. Meaning the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol, I'll show you a picture of the tzitz. Sometimes you have to get out of Google Pictures because they're all inappropriate pictures. So he wore this thing that said Kodesh LaHashem on it, okay? And the tzitz, there's all kinds of incredible websites, okay? And the tzitz wore it, and it was a kapara for tum'ah. And that's what our Mishnah says. And one of the things that the tzitz brought a kapara for, it appeased, i.e. it made it appropriate, and therefore patur b'pesach sheni, the guy, okay, the person who offered it, even though the korban is tamei, he was mikayim in the mitzvah because the blood was spilled on the mizbeach. I guess I don't know how he would eat it because the korban is tamei. I'm not entirely sure. Nitma haguf, but if the person himself becomes tamei, ein hatzitz miratzeh. Okay, the tzitz is not miratzeh. The tzitz does not appease him. The tzitz does not exempt him from bringing a korban. Because the Chazal said hanazir. We'll talk about this in a second. But the nazir means the Nazirite, the korban of the nazir. The Oseh Pesach, and the person who offers the Korban Pesach, Hatzitz miratzeh al tumat hadam. The en hatzitz miratzeh al tumat haguf. The tzitz appeases if you have tumat hadam, if the blood becomes tamei, but the tzitz is not miratzeh on tumat haguf, on physical tumah. What are we talking about? So the Pesach we already talked about. What is this Korban Nazir? So the halacha is the following. The halacha is that a Nazir, the typical Nazirut is 30 days. So the guy says, I want to become a Nazir. I'm gonna add something here. Okay, so I made you a little basic primer for what Nazirut is. The person says he wants to become a Nazir, 30 days. Okay, so then he's asur b'yayin, he can't drink wine, tiglachat, he can't cut his hair, and ulehi tamei. And he's also asur ulehi tamei. He cannot become tamei mate. Okay, so during those 30 days, he has Nazirut, he lets his hair grow, doesn't drink wine, and he has to become pure. So at the end of the 30 days, if he remains tahor, then he brings the tahara, the korbanot. He brings korbanot of Nazirut. The korbanot, well, you can look it up later, whatever. Okay, he brings his korbanot. I don't remember exactly what they are. We'll learn them in a second, Nazir. And then mitgaleach, and he shaves his entire body, and that's called tiglachat tahara, and he's done. Okay, he takes his haircut, and he's done. But let's say on day 15. He becomes, or day 29, or even after day 30, before he brings his korban, it becomes tamei. Then he has to start again. Why? He has to count 7 days, and do the haza'ah, the sprinkling of the paraduma. He has to bring korbanot now that he became tamei, special korbanot. He does another haircut, tiglachat, mitgaleach, tiglachat tum'ah. It's a different kind of tiglachat because now it's starting him over again, and then he starts his 30 days again. So now let's come to here. This is the question, what the Mishnah says. HaNazir ve'oseh Pesach, the Nazir and the oseh Pesach. So we talked about the Korban Pesach, but the Nazir, if the Korban becomes Tamei, hatzitz miratzeh al tumat hadam. The tzitz appeases if the dam became Tamei. But ein hatzitz miratzeh al tumat haguf. Meaning, if he offered his Korban, and he slaughtered the animal, and they collected the blood, and they put it on the Mizbeach, and then they found out that before they put it on the Mizbeach, the animal became Tamei, that's okay. Hatzitz miratzeh. But tumat haguf, if he became tamei, his body, then it's not miratzeh, and that's what he says. V'im tamei b'shat haba'at korbonotav. And if he became tamei, the person became tamei when they're offering his korban, meaning after the 30 days are over, it's 30 days, and then they offer the korban, and they sechted it, and while that's happening, some guy dies and falls into his arms, whatever. Okay, soter hakol. Soter means it contradicts, it removes. It contradicts everything, and as we said before, then he becomes tamei, 7 days, and he starts 30 days from the beginning. That's what the point is, that the tzitz is miratzeh al tumat hadam, ve'ein tzitz miratzeh al tumat haguf. Nitma tumat tahom. If the person became Tamei, it's called tumat tahom. Let's see what tumat tahom. The Bartunura says, Kol tumat met, jelo yadaba adam kodem lachen, nikra tumat tahom. Let's say that I went and did my Korban Pesach and came home. And then when I came home from Pesach, everything was great, I did my Korban Pesach, and then I decided to do some digging in my backyard. I dig in the backyard and I find out that it's an uncovered grave that nobody ever knew about. And I had walked on it, I knew I walked on it, I walked over that area before I went to do my Korban Pesach. So it turns out that I was Tamei when I did the whole Korban Pesach. Says the Mishnah, Hatzitz miratzeh. The tzitz is miratzeh, that's okay, that's what the tzitz is there for. Halacha l'Moshe b'Sinai, it's a halacha l'Moshe b'Sinai, shehutar tumat tahom lehem. This is passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu that tumat tahom is mutar. Kevan shelo hikir ba'adam b'tumah zo me'olam. Okay? Because nobody ever heard about it, nobody knew about this. That's why it's called tumat tahom. V'ino dalo the tumah zo achar shikri pischo, and if you found out afterwards, ein sarich lasot Pesach Sheni. You don't have to do a Pesach Sheni. The same as the Nazir of tumat tahom. Okay? That's what the tzitz is for. What's tumat tahom? Lo amutu ha tahom ela b'tumat meit bilvad. So the tzitz is miratzeh, halacha shemoshe misinai, that the tzitz is miratzeh. The tzitz is miratzeh on tuma that nobody knew about and you found it afterwards. You don't have to bring another Korban Pesach. We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. If you have comments or questions, as always, email me at arspolter@gmail.com. Have a great day.